So, Ouija Macc and Darby O'Trill just made a collab album called Anemoia, and the way this album was played off in the trailers leading up to it was like it's a creepy indie game or an analog horror type of theme, which I was excited for. If you don't know any of like indie games or analog horror, it reminded me of stuff like the Mandela Catalog, the Walton Files. I've played a lot of analog horror games on my YouTube if you want to go back and check them out. So for this, leading up to it, it really did feel like it was going to be like that, so I was expecting maybe some lo-fi or distorted type of sound to this one, just to kind of play off that analog, weird indie game type feeling. That's kind of what I felt from everything. But unfortunately, no. This was, I'm gonna just be straightforward. This was a huge letdown from what I was thinking it was gonna be, and what's worse is only 2, maybe 3 songs are like solid and like actually could hold their own. The other songs, I would say between the other 14 to 15 songs, just don't hit the exact same for me. They're not doing it, because it's just so random. And first off, before even going into the music, the album cover, it looks like shit. I'm gonna be honest, I like his covers. He does good covers. Even though I hate Corruptus, I gotta give him credit for the covers. The covers are really creepy, and again, they play off that analog horror style. And if they were gonna play off that feel, they could have done something creepy like that, or even just something even a bit more odd, but just not that. Like, instead of something interesting and cool, we get 2 different pictures of them from 2 different times, with the album named 3 different times. And I actually double checked, Darby O'Trill's picture that was used was posted on Instagram November 22nd of last year, which is 2023 as I'm making this. And it's like, why couldn't they have done a photo of them together from like a photo shoot? I know they could probably afford someone to just take a couple pictures of them. They already have a music video for this, like why not take a couple photos, make one the album cover? I feel like that would have been a lot more interesting than what we got. It just feels like cheap. It doesn't feel like it had any thought into it other than cash grab. And music wise, I will say so far, like overall, the production is not bad. The beats are done great. I like them all. The vocals, I would say for the most part, are done good. But the problem is, it all sounds the exact same. There's not really any like distinct tracks on here that would require this to be a 17-track album. Like if it was an EP, like maybe like 7, maybe 10 tracks at most, because there are short tracks, that would be a different story. But we get like a 50-something minute album and everything pretty much sounds the exact same. That's not cool. That's just wrong. And like the themes of all of these on here, they kind of all fall into these categories, which is either serial killers, juggalo pride, or just like there's probably depressing shit in here. It's all kind of just like formed into this like melting pot of just boring, like bland. So now we're gonna get into the tracks, and for these I will be going a bit quick since there are 17 tracks. It's pretty much just a shortened down summary of what I feel. And there will be the ear appeal at the end, so don't worry about anything like that. First up is the song Kennel Cough, which isn't bad, but it falls into the like Juggalo Pride theme on this album, basically being like, hey, you're fake, I'm real, suck it. That's pretty much what I got from this. But it is a good introduction song. Ouija's verse really doesn't do anything special for me, and kind of goes for Darby's as well, but I will say I do like Darby's verse more than Ouija's on here. I will say that. They aren't really bad, they're just not really anything to get me hooked. Like if you read a book, normally like the first couple sentences or whatever, they're supposed to hook you in. This kind of didn't do that, but I had to pull through for the review. It also seems like they're trying to diss someone on here. I don't know who specifically though, I will say that right now. I'm not going to say, oh, it's this person, that person, blah, blah, blah. I don't know who it is, but it feels like it. The only thing I could pick out that I'm just going to put here, and there's nothing else behind this that I'm going to say, is they keep saying hound dog, which could or could not be a reference, and I'm going to leave it at that. Waffle House Warlocks is up next, and I will say it at least has an interesting sound to it. I'm not gonna say it's a good sound or a bad sound, it's just interesting. It seems Darby's and Ouija's verses were mixed way too loud, to where as soon as they come on, it just pretty much smothers the whole instrumental track on this, and it throws me off, because it sounded okay, but what I think is the problem is the beat is lacking something to make it feel full. And the chorus is just Darby saying he's dead for about 15 to 25 seconds. And it kind of just makes my brain go TV static at that point. And I'm just like, I don't need to hear I'm dead, whatever the hell, for that long. Next is Dark Moon Talisman, and isn't that special to me? It basically just seems like another song like being on a trip, which if that's what you're into, that's all good. But I don't need multiple songs telling me this. It's like, okay, here or there, blah, blah, blah. It feels like it starts to push it. I don't know. That's just what I got from it. And it seems like the track goes on way too long than it needs to be. I don't know if that's how anyone else feels, but for me, it does. Nugget Bowling is now the next track on here. It's another run-of-the-mill serial killer song. What else am I going to say extra about that? It's a serial killing song. Basically, kind of feeds off of the ICP Bowling Bowl song. I can't really say much about it other than that's pretty much what it is. It's like part 2 to that. But Darby does carry this track for me. I feel like he just does it when Ouija kind of falls flat. Juggalunatic does have a cool beat to it. That's the next track with the heavy guitar in it. It's really cool, but Darby's vocals, again, mixed so loudly that it does suffocate the track. And it's like, why do we need them to be that loud? It just doesn't feel like the vocals were mixed. They were mixed good, but I don't think they were mixed with the actual beat. I feel like they were like separately and then just kind of smacked together maybe. That's just what I'm hearing from this. And like overall, surprise, surprise, it's another serial killing song sounding the same as the other ones on here already. Kidney Stones is another unique one where this is odd. This reminded me of like older, like 2017 to maybe 2018 Suicide Boys types beats, but even some that would have been probably used on Killjoy Club's reindeer games. The mix on this it's better, it's more bearable, but the lyrics really don't help it out much. It's just a filler. The Trees Have Eyes is the next track, and it starts out with a solid beat for the chorus. I really do like the beat on that. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you get to it, you get the silly, goofy carnival music beat, which paired with this creepy serial killer themed lyrics again, like, we can't go 2 songs without having that shit again. It's like it doesn't match, and it makes it feel like goofy, like, come on. It's like the vocals do sound alright, they were mixed properly this time, I feel. But it falls into another filler track, which is wild, because this track does feature Violent J. But even his verse could not save this song. It's like, he has all the whimsical sound effects in it, it's like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, that does not feel like, they don't feel like they match, and that should match. Like, Violent J has featured on Ouija songs before. That one off of Stale One, I forget the name of it right now, but that was actually a great song. I did enjoy that. What the fuck is going on here? Next is Sage Allergy, and it's just another one that falls into the filler pile. It doesn't give me really anything to talk about, other than the whole beat is basically the 808 taking over it all. That's pretty much all I heard through my headphones, which is weird, because I use the same exact headphones to review every single album I do. So there is a standard, I know how they mix, I know how they feel with 808s, but it just took over it all. And the chorus is just talking about burning sage over and over. It's like, just what? Next track up is Anemoians, and it does take a bit more of a mellow turn on this album. And while I don't like the chorus, the verses are pretty solid, and it feels like it could have been a solo Ouija song from probably 2019-2020 era. It's like it isn't a special song on this album, but for what it is, it's alright. Need to Kill Someone. Guess what kind of theme it is. If you guess serial killer, ta-da, you get a reward. What do you get? You get shiny button. That's your reward for guessing the fucking obvious on this shit. It brings back the guitar. The guitar is good on this. But then all of a sudden, Ouija singing again, and the exact way I've hated in the Corruptus album, which is an automatic turnoff for me, it happens again. It's like Darby is able to carry this track, but even his verses still follows a serial killer theme. I'm not gonna lie. As soon as Ouija starts singing, I tune out, because he has a good rapping voice. If he's doing it, if he's doing the singing where it's more of a, not monotone, but not the higher pitch stuff, if it's just the normal stuff, I think it's the last track on Fallen Angelic, that was good. But the higher pitch shit and anything like that, he can't do. Even with any sort of auto-tuning or fixing, it just does not fit for me at all. I just can't get into that. And it's this song is a giant chunk of Ouija singing, and it's the second longest song on the album. The longest is Trees Have Eyes. So it's what the hell? Okay, this next one is weird as shit. Whoever the hell titles these tracks needs to have, a serious talking to, because half of these don't make sense. This is Corpse01.mdl. What the fuck does this have to do with anything? And it's just another serial killing filler track. That's how it is. It doesn't give me anything special with it. And honestly, this one I don't even barely remember, and I just listened to this today to write the damn review. That's just how bad it is. Next is Graveyard Shift, which all the shit talking and all the blah 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 and all the bad review. This is probably my favorite track on this album. It is one of the two big highlights on it, and I feel like it fits it. It's the mix on the vocals is insane and on point, and the actual instrumental is good. Everything about this is solid. The two singles, this one, Graveyard Shift, and then Cobra Toxin, how are you gonna have those be your best tracks on an entire album and release them early? What the fuck? Next one, I'm hoping I say this right, because I'm looking at this now and I'm what the fuck? Jokero Holio. Hope I said that right, because that don't make any sort of fucking sense to me at all right now. It's just weird. And it doesn't help that there's a Trapaholics parody, within the first couple tracks of it, and I'm the first couple chunks, and I'm just what's happening here? The chorus is annoying. It's just another filler forgettable, but the beat is solid. Now we're talking about Cobra Toxin, which is the first single released from this album, and is honestly another great one. It's even though it does follow that kind of Juggalo Pride serial killer themes, this track is able to do it in a way that doesn't really have it shoving it down your throat. That's kind of what I feel from a lot of the other ones. This one I feel is better with it, and it's on a killer beat. Doesn't last that long though, but I feel it's good. It's good. It's short, sweet, to the point. Because if it was any longer, it could have honestly risked being a flop. Worrywarts starts with this beautiful slow flute, and I would have liked something slow and mellow. Ouija has done slower songs. This would have been perfect for that, because this flute is it's good. I like it. But then the fast trap drums come in, and it's just whatever the hell. It has the Juggalo Pride theme. I really don't think it didn't do it as good as stuff like Cobra Toxin. It's just, it would have been a good slow mellow song, but we have this. The slow song could have brought it up to a higher score, but this is what we got, what we deal with. Death of a Summer is the next one up, and it's unique because Darby's singing rap doesn't really sound bad at all. I genuinely like his vocals on this, and even the beat is pretty good. But Ouija held it back. That's all I'm gonna say. He held it back. Yeah. Crossing Over is the final track for this album, and honestly, it's a fairly okay one. Another one with Darby rap singing, which is still good, but this time it's these weird filtered guitars, positively, because I like when they put guitars in there, and I use filters on guitars. You can go back in a lot of my music and hear that. I love messing with technology and audio like that. But then again, you have Ouija singing, which kind of throws it all off a cliff for me. It's it's not as bad as before, but it isn't better. It's still a good ending track to the album. It kind of brings the whole thing to a close. Better late than never, though, honestly. Now, for everyone's favorite part of the video, the ear appeal, and honestly, I will not be playing it after this. Like, maybe a 1% chance I'll check it out again within another year. But other than that, like, I've listened to it twice since it released. I'm recording this on the 23rd at 1 a.m. Since it released, what was that, like, just about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. Listened to it the first day to write the first kind of blurb, then just yesterday to do the track by track. But within those times, I did play Graveyard Shift and Cobra Talks in just the singles. I kind of popped them in a playlist because they are good. They really do sit well as tracks. But the rest of it, it's not good. Like, the mix overall is okay. The mix is alright. The vocals kind of are flip-floppy. I don't know. Like, that's just my opinion from, like, listening to them. It's like, they kind of flip-flop between either being, they can be kind of quiet, or they're just overbearing the track. That's the one or two of them. There's a very good margin of tracks that kind of hold it all together, but the ones that don't really sour the rest. Beats are good. I will say the beats on damn near every single one of them are good. Even the trees have highs. That's still a good beat. It was produced well. Just the vocals kind of didn't just fit with it. But like, there's nothing really to keep me hooked to this album enough for me to keep going back to it. It's like, it's bland. It's just a slice of bread. There's nothing really interesting about this or like another album. Like, a lot of Ouija's albums, regardless, they always have kind of the same themes. That's kind of the gimmick you get with the horrorcore, the Juggalo community. It's a lot of the same themes, but it's how they portray them, and they just kind of keep running the same cycle. I would say the run from like 2018 to 22 at the latest was good. I loved Stalewind. I loved Fallen Angelic. That was my favorite album that year. But it's like, after that, with the weird collab albums, even Detritus, that one he just put out like last year, wasn't a fan of that. He just kind of keeps going downhill, just repeating the same shit. I feel like there's nothing that's standing out, and the stuff he does try to stand out with, like Corruptus, it's just not executed properly. Like, this had the chance to honestly be really cool, and he could have even broke into, even though that's probably not the goal, he could have broke into like the analog horror community, and probably would have been an interesting thing to go with. But it's bland, it's not like interesting. It gets a 2 out of 10 ear appeal score, unfortunately. And the overall score of this album, taking into consideration what I liked, what I didn't like, and even the 2 songs that I do love, the cover and the promotion, like everything involving it, it's gonna be hard, because it's like, by this time, he should have stuff down, like, on lock. He's had pretty much like 6 full years of being a solo artist. I don't really count 2017 because Swag Tooth was still a thing in the beginning, and his first mixtape was like kind of later that year, 2017. Don't remember exactly when, but it was. So at least 6.5 years of being able to work as an independent artist, and it's still putting out not really flops, but they aren't hitting the same. They're not anything special. So this is going to get a 3.5 out of 10. Because there's nothing in here that makes me want to give it any higher. Because 5 is like the solid middle ground. 5 is like the solid middle ground of where it's like, hey, an album can be good sitting here. I don't think any other album besides 2 that I know of would be a 10 out of 10. You have to be able to make it interesting. And there was so much that could have been done that wasn't. So, kind of knocking it all back, that's what I had to give it. And I know people are probably going to just be like, oh, you're not a real juggalo, blah, blah, blah. Oh, whatever. I'm reviewing the music unbiased. I'm looking at it from how the production was. How does it sound? Like, that's how I'm not going to be like, oh, it's made by this person, it's a 10 out of 10. It's made by that person, it's a 0 out of 10. If it's good, it's good. If it's shit, it's shit. If it's okay, it's okay. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because I want these reviews to be, like, just as they are. If you like these reviews, let me know down below. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever, guys. See you in the next one.